so worried the baby's gonna wake up like any minute. The baby is sleeping right now in the car, but she's due for a feed, so I'm worried she's gonna wake up and be screaming her head off while I'm in here at the doctor. Zach is in the car with her. Let's speed things up. I've been waiting almost 20 minutes. It's her. Small talking with someone outside of my room. Yeah.
First target run, like real.
Little girl. She's so cute. I'm kind of filming this on a time constraint. My daughter is currently napping, but she's literally just started stirring. Anyway, there might be a visitor at some point in this video, but I'm gonna try to get this done because I'm on a time crunch. She's gonna wake up eventually and need to eat, and she's probably gonna be crying. And also my husband's gonna get home from the gym eventually, and I have to cook dinner. I showed some clips earlier of me at my doctor's appointment. So anyway, welcome to my 6 weeks postpartum update and check-in. I have some notes on things I want to talk about, but first I want to talk about what happened at the doctor. So first of all, the baby was due for a feed. What I was trying to explain in the video, but like I didn't want to be too loud. Zach and the baby were waiting in the car for me because the baby was due for a feed. I couldn't go by myself because I was going to be gone for more than 2 hours. Then like with the timing of this morning's feed with like my appointment, she was due for a feed at the time of my appointment, but she fell asleep in the car, which I know they're not supposed to sleep in the car seat. We typically don't do this, but I was sat back there with her on the way there. And then once I was in the appointment, Zach switched places with me and he sat next to her and watched her the whole time. But thankfully she stayed asleep the entire time. As soon as I got in the car, she was still sleeping. So we drove to Target because we had to pick up a few things, which is actually, this is one of the things we picked up. I'm also wearing shorts that we picked up, but she kind of looks like she's waking up. So I'm gonna keep going. But anyway, I took her out of her car seat, I fed her, and then we went to Target for a little bit. I tried to get a few clips, but it was a little hectic in there, and Zach was tired and wanting to leave, so I was trying to like be as fast as I could. But yeah, we had to get some things for the baby. I wanted to pick up a few articles of clothing that I'd be comfortable in this postpartum period. There's this weird limbo where you're not pregnant anymore, so your pregnant clothes look huge on you, and then you're not fully back to your pre-pregnancy weight, so you're in this weird in-between. And luckily I was at this weight 2 years ago when I was in the middle of losing weight for my wedding, so I have some clothes that fit. I have some clothes I got rid of because they just aren't my style anymore, and I am a mom now, so I have to walk that balance of I'm still 26 and young, but I am a mom. So it's a new chapter of life we're in. But anyway, what happened at the doctor? I went in, they weighed me. In my weight loss videos, I never shared my weight, and I'm gonna continue to not share my weight. I'll share like pounds lost, pounds gained, whatever. So in pregnancy, I gained 40 pounds exactly, which I know sounds like a lot. Some people gain even more weight than that. I think what's recommended is 25 to 35. So I only went 5 pounds over that, but my doctor never mentioned anything about my weight. They seemed like they were fine with it. So yeah, I gained 40 pounds in pregnancy. And since having her, I've lost 20 pounds. So I'm only 20 pounds away from my pre-pregnancy weight. Feels like a pretty good win to me. I'm planning on losing the weight, and I'm planning on starting to exercise again and starting to do some things to build my pelvic floor again. So I'm going to be doing a series on my channel of me trying out this postpartum workout program that I found on YouTube. So I'm not going to talk about it yet because I want to like try it out first and see how I feel, and I might scrap that video if I don't end up liking it, but I am going to be posting videos about me and my postpartum weight loss journey and just my postpartum journey in general. So if that's interesting to you, subscribe. So yeah, I definitely I like to work out. I'm excited to get back to it, but I'm also like, how is that going to be possible with the exhaustion and the breastfeeding and having to be with the baby all the time? So we're going to find the right balance as time goes on and she gains more of a schedule. We'll find the right balance, but it's definitely a priority I want to keep in my life because I want to be fit and able to run around with her. I'm rambling. They weighed me at the doctor. Like I said, I'm 20 pounds lighter than when I had her. So I have 20 pounds to go to get to my pre-pregnancy weight. So I'm halfway there, and then the doctor finally came in. I waited like 20 minutes for her to come in, and the nurse said that like she'd be able to come in like so fast, but I literally heard her outside my room like chatting and doing small talk with someone, and then as soon as they like were like, okay, like catch you later, she like knocked on the door and opened it. So I know it was her. I was like, I told the nurse I was in a rush, so I was like, yeah, I'm like in a little bit of a rush, like the baby's gotta eat, so like it's a ticking time bomb for whenever she'll wake up. And she goes, no problem, she'll be right in. And she didn't come in for like 20 minutes, and 5 of those minutes I heard her outside my door telling a story. So I was a little bit frustrated, but I don't think the nurse conveyed the situation to the doctor, so she had no idea. And I love my doctor, she's really nice. So she's the one that delivered me. She asked me how the baby was, she asked me how I was doing. I passed my postpartum depression screening. They don't do the anxiety one, but I have had normal anxiety for a new mom. I've had normal sad thoughts and sad feelings for a new mom. And I feel really good. Like honestly, like I said in my last video, or was it 2 videos ago? Like I said 2 videos ago, I had one night where I was like really in the pits, really not doing great, but it was just one night, and since then I felt fine, and I haven't felt any of those like recurring feelings, but I'm giving myself grace to feel those feelings if I do, but we'll see. So far I don't think they'll come back, but so far I've been good. Anyway, does the exam, so she goes in there with her fingers and feels around, because I did get like a good amount of stitches internally, and I got a couple of stitches externally because I did tear in my right labia. Family and friends, I know that's a little bit TMI, but this is my postpartum video, so if you don't want to hear about the TMI stuff, probably click off. But yeah, I did tear a little bit in my right labia, but she said everything looked great. I will say I've been leaving that area completely alone. I've been like terrified to touch it because I've never had stitches, and that's a very delicate area to get stitches in. So when I shower, I've just been using the Peri bottle. I've been leaving it alone. Things felt a little bit like the skin felt a little bit looser, but they didn't necessarily feel like anything was like sagging. This is so awkward to talk about. But yeah, she was happy with that. She was happy with everything, how everything healed. She asked me if I had any questions, and I was like, yeah, like exercise, how does that work? And she was like, everything resume as normal. She was like, you're good to go. Oh, so the one thing she did do when she was up there feeling things, she stuck her finger and like pressed down on my abdomen. She didn't go super far up, but I was like anticipating that she was. But she didn't. She just had to go up a little bit, and she was feeling like my uterus, and she said it all looked good. So I guess it went down a good amount, or went down to size, or I don't know, but she was happy with it. She said that everything looked great and that I would be able to resume all normal activity as if I had never had a baby. Anyway, to cut to the chase, I'm cleared. I'm cleared for exercise, I'm cleared for all the things, and I'm definitely gonna start exercising maybe tomorrow. We take walks as a family, like usually once a day. We haven't like actually in the last few days, but typically once a day we'll take a walk as a family. But I think I might start doing solo walks that are like longer, 30 minutes or so, because the walks we take as a family are only like 15. And that was good for when I wasn't cleared for exercise. Hold on. I have a baby to get. I'm feeding her right now. She usually goes about like 2.5 hours before she's hungry, but she decided that she was starving only 2 hours and 15 minutes after her last feed. So here we are, I'm feeding her. Apologies that this is now a weird angle, but we're not gonna be showing me breastfeeding on the internet. So yeah, here we are. Anyway, what was I saying? We discussed birth control options, and she was basically like, what are you thinking for birth control? Because some doctors, I've heard them say that they don't want you to have a baby for another 2 years or like 1.5 years. I don't know if that's for C-sections. I think it might be. But my doctor was like, yeah, we just don't want you getting pregnant for another year, which is fine. My plan is to not get pregnant for at least another year. Honestly, a little more than that. I told her, I was like, well, I've been using Phexxi for 2 years prior to having the baby, and I really liked it, and I didn't get pregnant, and clearly it's easy for me to get pregnant, and I didn't get pregnant on it for 2 years. She was like, sure, that sounds great. Like, I'll send it into your pharmacy. So yeah, that's what I'm doing for birth control. I'm doing Phexxi, which is as needed. If you don't know what it is and you don't want to be on a hormonal birth control, look it up. I'm glad she didn't push like an IUD or birth control pills, because I don't want to do those things because of the timeline of when I want to get pregnant next, and because I didn't want to be on anything hormonal. I don't want any implants. I didn't want anything in my body. So I was really happy that she was fine with doing Phexxi, and she didn't make a comment about it at all. And she was like, let me double check to make sure it's breastfeeding safe. She Googled it literally in front of me and was like, okay, yep, you're ready to go. Like, this is breastfeeding safe. So I was like, okay. So yeah, but anyway, let's discuss some of my postpartum symptoms since giving birth. Immediately after having my baby, I noticed that I had some increased bleeding, and the nurse was moderately worried about, the doctor was a little bit worried about. After about like an hour or two, they noticed that it did like go down to normal, but there was a little bit more bleeding than they would have liked. And I do wonder if that's because of how fast labor progressed, because I do know that there is a chance of hemorrhage when your labor progresses too fast. So I'm really grateful that that was not the case with me. So it slowed down after a few hours. But I went through pads, like those huge ones, pretty frequently in the hospital. They had me, that's the other thing, they wanted to make sure I was going pee every 2 hours, immediately postpartum and a couple weeks after being postpartum. Sorry, I'm burping her. I was bleeding quite a lot up until like about 3 weeks postpartum. And then it slowed down a lot. And then I would say in the last like week or so, I haven't noticed really any blood, maybe a little bit of like discharge, but I haven't really had to wear a pad for a while. Speaking of, when the number one hack I saw for like postpartum like necessities that you needed was skip the pads, just wear diapers. And I did that for a little bit, and then I gave myself a diaper rash. So it was extremely itchy and super red, and like you can't really put anything down there, period, but also while you're postpartum. So I was just kind of like dealing with the pain. Eventually that cleared up when I stopped using pads. Another thing they said to do was like to let things air out down there once I got home, like once or twice a day, like take everything off waist down and just kind of like let things air out, which I wasn't doing, which I feel like might have contributed to the diaper rash. But yeah, I did it like a few times, but I should have probably been following the doctors and nurses orders with that, but I didn't. So the stitches never actually ended up bothering me. There was one time I was like 3 days postpartum and we had family over, and if I could go back, I would not have people over as fast as I did. And we had some of my husband's family over, and the dog was being bad, so I squatted down quickly to like deal with her, and because she was gonna eat something off the floor, because like pulled a stitch. I didn't rip it, but I pulled it and it hurt, and I was really nervous. So that was uncomfortable, but besides that, I didn't really feel my stitches. Felt itchy down there when things started to heal, but yeah, my stitching wasn't so bad. Immediately following the birth as well, I didn't have any pain meds. They kept offering me Motrin, and I just kept saying like, I don't feel like I need pain medication. So like, I wasn't like withholding for any reason, but like, I wasn't in pain after I gave birth. Like after those afterbirth contractions stopped, I was fine. Like I didn't really need it anymore. So they kept saying like, are you sure? Are you sure? But I was like, yeah, I'm not really in any pain. And that could be because even though I did tear, she was still a small baby, so it wasn't like that crazy of a tear. A few days after too, especially if you're breastfeeding, I was still getting like cramping, but the contraction stopped after like the first few hours after labor, and then the cramping continued. Sorry if you hear her. I promise my husband is trying to calm her. I did experience a hemorrhoid following my delivery. That continued for a few days after. They gave me a cream and then it went away. And then, to be honest, every time I have a bowel movement, I am still having some hemorrhoids. But they're not painful, they're not like itchy or anything, but I just put some of that cream on there and it takes care of it. But yeah, that's a little awkward to talk about, but that's a part of my postpartum experience. I didn't take any stool softeners. I took 2 stool softeners in the hospital, and then I was like, oh, I should probably get some for when I'm home. And I took it one time. I took Miralax, and it gave me like almost contraction level, like not so bad, but like cramping. I had some small clotting in the weeks following. Honestly, the clotting stopped around 3 weeks, maybe a little bit before that, but I think about 4 days postpartum, I had a huge clot that I passed while I was peeing, the size of a golf ball. My husband was in the room holding the baby because we were like talking while I was peeing, and I literally just like my eyes went wide and I was like, I just felt myself pass the biggest blood clot. So I looked in it in the toilet and it was like this big, and I was freaking out. So my mom is still staying with us at this point, so I called her upstairs and I was like, Mom, like, should I go to the hospital? Because they say anything past a golf ball size, go to the hospital. But she was like, just watch it, like, and honestly it's big, but like It's not as big as it could be. And she was like, just watch it. If your bleeding gets any worse or you keep passing those clots, like maybe go to the hospital. Didn't pass any more big clots after that. My clots pretty much stayed the same. My bleeding didn't increase. I called the doctor the next day and they said, yep, if your bleeding didn't increase, if you had no more large clots, then you're pretty much fine. You don't need to go to the hospital. And I stayed fine after that. But again, consult your doctor. But yeah, that was pretty crazy to have a blood clot that large. I wish I had it in the hospital because I wouldn't have freaked out as much, but I literally like was crying to Zach like, I'm gonna die, like tell Addie I love her. Like it was dramatic, but I haven't noticed any hair loss yet. I don't know when that happens or when it peaks, but I'm not taking my prenatal because I can't swallow pills. So my whole pregnancy I was taking only the gummies, and the type of gummies I was eating are disgusting, and the last batch I bought have like a fish taste to it, which I don't really understand. So as soon as I was done being pregnant, I stopped taking my prenatals because they tasted rotten, honestly. And I did talk about this in my video, so I'll just briefly touch on it. I had to use a nipple shield for a while, and then I stopped using it, but she had a painful latch because she has a small mouth and she just wasn't opening it large enough to get what she really needed to, which they need to suck on the nipple and the areola. I don't know if you knew that. And I went to a lactation consultant eventually. She helped me get a better latch, and to this day we're still working on it. It's only been a week since I've been to the lactation consultant, and things are better, but they're not perfect every time, so it is sometimes painful still when I breastfeed. But as far as my mood postpartum, and I never really had the baby blues. I don't know if it just like I might get it delayed or like what, but I didn't have that. I was just really tired. A couple of nights where she was inconsolable, not going down, and super fussy, and I was exhausted, where I like cried and was really upset. And one of those nights was in the midst of this whole breastfeeding saga, and she had a really bad latch, and I was trying to get her to do the right one. This was prior to the lactation consultant, and it was so painful for me, and I was trying to get her to open her mouth larger to get a better latch, and she wasn't doing it. And I definitely experienced some postpartum rage. I had a lot of anger and rage in me, and I had to like take a minute and cry and like express my feelings to him. And yeah, that night was a little dark. I think my mood overall has been really good, and I'm really grateful for that. I don't know when postpartum anxiety or depression peaks or anything, but for the most part I think I might be in the clear, knock on wood, praise God. But yeah, that doesn't mean that I've been hunky-dory, all smiles all the time postpartum, but I don't have anything clinical, which I thought I would. So thank the Lord literally for that. But yeah, honestly, like postpartum has been better than I expected. She's starting to like wake up and like be more alert, and think that she might be a little colicky. But yeah, this last like couple of weeks when she's been like not a fresh newborn where she just sleeps all the time has been pretty rough. Other babies are smiling and cooing at this point, and she doesn't do any of that. Honestly, she hasn't really been the happiest of babies. Yeah, so overall, my postpartum experience has been good. It's been good. I have been enjoying having her fall asleep on me. I've been enjoying doing tummy time with her and playing with her toys with her. And overall, it's really hard being a mom, but it's also really rewarding and beautiful. And I say this with a screaming baby in the background. But the times where she's not screaming, which, you know, kind of been few and far between, are really sweet moments, and I do really love her, and she is super cute. And I don't want to wish this newborn stage away, but I am really excited. People say it gets so much better around the 3-month mark, and with sleep, with her mood, with like her coming out with her personality, and like being able to interact and play more. And I am really looking forward to that, because right now it's just been a whole lot of screaming and upset. So I'm excited to get to that stage, but I'm also trying my hardest not to wish away this tiny little stage. But she's got some lungs on her. I think that's it for this video. I hope it made sense. I hope it wasn't too scattered. I tried to have a little bit of a vlog in the beginning, but things are scattered right now, kind of like my brain, so hopefully you enjoyed that. If you have any questions about my postpartum journey or anything else, leave a comment down below. I'm probably not going to make another postpartum update video. I'm just going to give updates in my vlogs and everything like that. But yeah, goodbye and subscribe.